There is a specific kind of hatred that exists in the bedroom of a new mother. It is completely silent. It is violently intense, and it is directed entirely at the man you love, simply because his eyes are closed. You are vibrating with adrenaline, your heart pounding from the sound of your baby crying, while the person who promised to share this burden is breathing in a deep, undisturbed rhythm. In that exact moment, watching him sleep so peacefully, a dark, suffocating wave of resentment washes over you. You question everything. How can his brain just shut off? Is he pretending not to hear it? Is he secretly forcing you to carry all the weight? This quiet, venomous fury is the absolute silent killer of modern marriages. And the most terrifying part is that you don't recognize yourself inside it. You lie there feeling utterly abandoned, staring at his back, wondering how someone could be so completely useless when your nervous system is on fire. But what if I told you that this marital crisis is built on a biological misunderstanding? What if his deep slumber is not a character flaw, not a sign of selfishness, and definitely not a failure of his devotion? Let us uncover the truth behind his silence. The modern parenting industry, the internet, and expensive couples therapists have sold you a beautiful, yet incredibly toxic lie. They call it the 50-50th marriage. The systemic belief that modern parenthood should be a perfectly symmetrical division of labor. We are told that because we live in a progressive society, everything must be split down the middle, including the agonizing 3 a.m. wake-up calls. When reality fails to match this systemic egalitarianism, the marital resentment tax begins to accumulate. We have built an entire societal narrative around this mathematical equality, a capitalist metric that completely ignores one undeniable, inconvenient truth. Human biology is fundamentally asymmetrical. When you demand that his body responds to the baby's cry exactly the way yours does, you are setting an impossible standard. You are grading a fish on its ability to climb a tree. This systemic trap profits off your exhaustion. It convinces you that his lack of response is a red flag, driving wedges between partners and sending them straight into the arms of divorce lawyers and counseling clinics. But the truth is colder, much colder, and far less personal. The failure of the 50-50th split in the middle of the night is not a psychological or moral failing. It is a biological reality. It is not personal. It is not betrayal. It is biology. The modern expectation of perfect symmetry is completely divorced from millions of years of evolutionary triage. Your husband is not ignoring the baby out of malice or patriarchal entitlement. His body is literally deaf to the crisis unfolding. It is biology. Let us look at the acoustic frequency mismatch happening in his brain. Evolutionary psychology reveals a fascinating, yet deeply frustrating, anomaly about the male auditory system. For millions of years, the male brain was optimized to detect threats in the environment to protect the tribe. This means his auditory cortex is heavily biased toward low-frequency, guttural sounds, a low rumble, a breaking branch, the growl of a predator. If your baby suddenly started roaring like a bear at 3 a.m, your husband would be out of bed, adrenaline pumping, ready to fight, before you even opened your eyes. But what about a baby's cry? A baby's cry is a high-frequency acoustic distress signal. To the unupgraded male brain, this high-pitched frequency is essentially filtered out. It is processed as non-lethal background noise. It is the evolutionary equivalent of traffic noise outside your window. He is experiencing evolutionary acoustic blindness. He can't hear the danger. You can. His brain literally categorizes the sound as not a life-threatening emergency. He is not actively choosing to ignore the crying. The signal is simply not registering in the threat detection centers of his brain. A pivotal study published in 2014 by Dr. Ruth Feldman at Reichman University demonstrated exactly this. The male brain, without the intense biological restructuring of pregnancy, simply does not have the hardware to instantly prioritize that specific acoustic frequency. So, while you are vibrating with anxiety, convinced that the world is ending, he remains peacefully oblivious, locked inside a neurobiological soundproof booth that he cannot control. Meanwhile, your brain is operating on a completely different frequency. During pregnancy, your brain underwent a radical, permanent transformation. A process known as cortical pruning rewired your maternal brain architecture. It stripped away the noise, so only your baby could reach you faster than thought. You lost gray matter. But you did not lose intelligence. Your brain was undergoing an extreme software upgrade, shedding unnecessary connections to hyper-specialize in one single task. keeping that baby alive. Your brain created a dedicated high-speed neural highway directly from your ears to your amygdala, your body's primal fire alarm. When that high-frequency cry hits your ear, it bypasses logic entirely. It is an amygdala hijacking. You do not just hear the baby. You physically feel the cry as a life-or-death emergency. It triggers an instant, massive spike in cortisol and a flood of adrenaline. You are propelled out of bed by biological force, completely unable to ignore it. Your nervous system is screaming at you to move. Your husband never got this download. He did not spend 9 months stewing in the oxytocin loop that physically rewired your threat response systems. He is still running the old operating system. When you look at him sleeping, you are judging him based on your newly upgraded, hypervigilant neurological baseline. You expect his amygdala to fire exactly like yours, but it simply cannot. The Mayo Clinic has extensively documented this biological asymmetry, proving that a mother's sleep architecture is permanently altered to remain in a state of light, vigilant readiness. You are sleeping with one eye open, biologically tethered to the child. He is sleeping the sleep of a man whose brain genuinely believes that everything is perfectly safe. This profound gap in neuroplasticity is the invisible wedge driving you apart. His biological alarm clock was never set to your exact frequency. It is a harsh truth to accept in the dark. The cost of misunderstanding this biological asymmetry is the resentment tax you pay every single morning. When you believe the narrative that he is choosing to sleep, you start keeping score. You wake up exhausted, angry, and defensive, interpreting his rested face as a personal insult. Your coffee goes cold on the counter again, not because you forgot it, but because your nervous system never got permission to rest. This circadian mismatch turns your bedroom into a battleground. You start weaponizing your exhaustion, throwing passive-aggressive comments over the breakfast table, letting the bitterness poison the love you once had. The industry wants you to fight about this. It wants you tired. Buying more books? Sitting in therapy? Counting hours? Chasing asymmetry? That your biology was never designed to support. But this is a waste of your precious energy. Resentment is a heavy, toxic burden that drains the exact emotional resources you need to survive motherhood. When you finally realize what this really is, his sleep is not distance. It is not neglect. It is evolutionary, acoustic blindness. And suddenly, the anger loses its oxygen. The scorekeeping can finally stop. You are fighting a war against his biology, and it is a war you will never win. Instead of letting this neurogap destroy your partnership, you have to look at the situation with the cold, clear lens of science. He is not the enemy. Your body just learned a language his never had to learn. The societal expectation that he should instantly possess your biologically engineered maternal instincts is the real enemy. When you let go of that impossible expectation, you immediately stop bleeding emotional energy. How do you hack this system? Stop expecting spontaneous awakening and start implementing structural communication. You do not wait for him to hear the cry, because science proves he might not. Instead, you wake him up. You physically touch him. You bypass his auditory deficit and engage his tactile sensory system. You tell him exactly what needs to be done. It is your turn. Take the baby. Once he is awake and oriented, his logical brain can take over, and he can be the partner you need. The goal is not to have him wake up magically on his own. The goal is to build a system that works around his biological limitations. Accept the asymmetry. This is how you protect your marriage from the friction of the newborn phase. By removing the moral judgment from his sleep, you dismantle the resentment. You stop seeing a lazy partner and start seeing a biological reality. Stay right here for a second. Your body can stand down now. Nothing here is broken. Nothing here is failing. Drop your shoulders and unclench your jaw. You do not have to carry the weight of this anger anymore. This simple shift in perspective allows you to reclaim your peace. It turns your partner back into your strong ally, rather than your opponent in the dark. Understanding that he is not doing this on purpose truly saves your marriage. But what about you? Why do you wake up before the first tear even falls? How did your brain change to become this flawless, hypervigilant radar system? There's a reason you wake up before the sound even exists. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. I break it down for you in the next pause. Waiting right here. Pull up a chair and come with me. Welcome to the village. If a light stays on here, another mother might find her way. And sometimes, that's enough. You are completely safe right here. The noise outside will still be there tomorrow. They will still expect the perfect mom. But the perfect mom doesn't exist. Only you do. And science already proved you are exactly who your baby needs. Drop your shoulders, take a deep breath, and I'll see you in our next pause.